Alright, welcome back. This is Chapter 9. We're going to be talking about classes and multi-form projects. In the learning objectives in Chapter 9, we're going to focus mostly on classes, but we will be taking a look at how to create properties within a class, parameterizing constructors and overloading methods, storing class type objects in arrays and lists, and finding the classes and their responsibilities in the problem. Finally, we'll finish off by creating multiple forms in a project that's having more than just the main form, but having multiple forms in there. So an introduction to classes, like what is a class? Well, you could think of maybe a metaphor to a class is a blueprint. When you're building a house, it's kind of like the map of what the capability you're going to create this house. So a house can have a certain amount of rooms, it can have a certain amount of faucets and electrical and plumbing and all the rest of it. When you create an object in computer programming, we need to have a map to create the object. And that's what a class is. It simply contains all the pieces that can make up that object. And some of those pieces are things like, does the object need to have fields? Do you store information on it? Can it do something? Does it have methods? Does it have properties that we can add, or event handlers? Now, these are all kind of key pieces to the class, and these are what they refer to as a member of the class. So fields and methods and properties are all members of a class. Now the class is not a object itself, it's whereby we can create an object or create an instance of an object. So each object created from a class is called an instance of an object. So, and we've done lots of this. As we code throughout the coding, we're constantly creating an instance of an object, and by default, we have access to all of the members of the class when we create that object. So, when you think about a class, you can almost think of it like this box, and inside the box there's lots of members, there's fields, there's properties, there's methods, and there's event handlers. There's all sorts of stuff that can be put into this box to create an object. So if we wanted to open up the box and then start building an object or create an instance of an object, we would have access to everything that's in the box, all the tools you might think of it as in there. So creating a class is very similar to creating a structure. When we were creating struct, if you remember that from chapter 8, when we use this reserved word here called class and then give it a name like whatever the class name, like for example, if we're going to create a class for a coin, tossing a coin, we could call it coin toss. Now the naming convention I believe is camel case, so we probably should have this in proper camel case, something like coin toss, maybe something like that. Now that's the header. Now the members are, what can that coin do? Do we need to store a field? Does the coin actually flip? Is there a method to it? We can put all those members inside of these brackets, and that defines the framework by which we can create an instance of that class. Alright, now to actually use that class or create an instance of the class, what we simply do in the future is we call it the coin toss, and that's, I'm going to use the original one here called coin toss, and then we've got our variable name right here. So let's move that over here. There's the variable name, and then we're going to create a new, and we're going to assign it equal to a new instance of that object, and that called the coin toss, which is the name of the class, but it's also the name of the constructor. So the constructor is the same name as the class, and it constructs a new instance of that object up onto the heap, and that's what's going on when we define or create a new instance of that class. And this is how we do it. And you should recognize this kind of syntax because we've used this throughout the course. Now we're digging a little further on how to build our own class in here. Alright, so we'll carry on in the next video.